We don't usually talk about the NCAA on this platform, but this week there was just so many things going on. It just was impossible to not bring this up as the leadoff topic in today's podcast. The Pac-12 is on the brink of collapse, and this is mainly due to a lot of the realignments that we're seeing across the NCAA, mostly driven by TV money. But we know that last year we saw USC and UCLA make moves to leave the Pac-12 to join the Big Ten, and this is already a couple other moves that we've seen. Big schools like UT and Oklahoma, they're going to leave the Big 12 conference to join the SEC, and this is a lot of realignment here. And now the Pac-12 is unfortunately going to potentially collapse, if not already. We've seen the week transpire with Colorado leaving the Pac-12 to go to the Big 12. Emergency meetings were held by Arizona State, and then Utah as well. And those three schools are going to be joining the Big 12 as well. That leaves University of Washington and Oregon. This is basically a game of musical chairs, and you don't want to be left without a chair to sit on. Obviously, Oregon is a big brand with Nike, but they're not enough to drive or power an entire conference, so they also decided to leave along with University of Washington to go to the Big Ten. So the Big Ten has grabbed 4 schools from the Pac-12, and then the Big 12 has already grabbed 3 schools and could be more from the Pac-12. And this leaves the former Pac-12 as potentially the Pac-4 with Oregon State, Washington State, and then you have the 2 Bay schools in Stanford and Cal Berkeley. So it's a very precarious situation. It sucks to see that all these rivalries that we've come to know and love, especially in the Pac-12, are going to be no more. And this is, again, mainly drawn by TV money. UCLA and USC, they're the biggest names probably in that conference, and it was very hard to keep them because when these new TV deals were coming about, the Pac-12 was slow to get a new TV deal done. We saw the Big Ten and ACC, SEC, the Big 12, they all got their TV contracts done with either Fox Sports or ESPN, those major cable networks. The Pac-12 was slow on that. They made a couple moves, then they tried to propose this last minute deal with Apple TV Plus, swiftly rejected, and now they're on the outside looking in. And to talk about how these schools are getting this money, USC and UCLA, they're getting $60 million a piece to join the Big Ten. Oregon and University of Washington, they're getting $30 million for next season, but that's going to elevate to $60 million on the following year. And you're going to see Arizona State, Utah, they're going to get $37 million from the Big 12. All these schools are getting a ton of money. They're now leaving the former Pac-12 for these other conferences, and now the Pac-12 is scrambling on what to do. Do they ask the Mountain West Conference to join them in a potential merger? The Mountain West obviously doesn't want to just dissolve and just be absorbed by the Pac-12 either. They have their own conference. I think now they're kind of in a position of power. The problem is the last 4 remaining schools in the Pac-12, they have a decision to make. Do they want to be in a smaller market with the Mountain West, or do they want to jump ship to these other big conferences? That remains to be seen at the time of this recording. Originally back in 2009, we saw the Pac-10 at the time expand to the Pac-12 when they brought in a couple other schools, and this was good. The problem was in that TV deal that they kind of slotted these teams to only be aired on late night games that are hard for the East Coast viewers to watch. These are like 10:30 at night, and this is great for the West Coast. The problem is with that region that you're already kind of pigeonholing away from the 2/3 majority of the nation. They're not really watching those sports to begin with. The West Coast is dynamic. They have a lot of different geography to the things to do on the weekends, especially Saturday night. So they're not really watching USC. They're not watching Oregon play football even. The East Coast was the big brand, and then they tried to make moves to potentially bring these two teams together. Ironically, the Big Ten and the Pac-12 tried to get something going where they would have some interconference matchups where Oregon took on Ohio State and a few others sprinkled in there outside of the Rose Bowl. stole. But ironically, the Big Ten is the conference that stole the biggest fish out of the Pac-12. It is a sad day for college sports, absolutely, because this impacts the student athletes. This new NIL money definitely adds in a different component as well. And like I said, this is going to lead to the dissolution of major rivalries in the Pac-12. And as a major conference collapses, it just means that the entire landscape of college athletics changes whether we like it or not.